twice in seniors, once in DD2. He's on the inside of row 4 again, thanking Tim DeFighter in particular for the help in getting him on track after those early gremlins. Chris Sturken, a Dutchman I've not seen race a lot, going particularly well on row 4. Barry Pullinger and Martins Lapans complete the top 10 on row 5. Alexandra Finkelstein, the Frenchman, Kevin Ludi, the Swiss, on row 6. Andreas Backman of Sweden, Chris Rymakers from here in Belgium, row 7. Another Frenchman, Maxime Gravoui, is on row 8 with Antti Ramo of Estonia. Luca Kamali and Chris Adams are row 9, and we pause when we mention Chris Adams because Chris is the first of the Masters to appear on row 9. Second of the Masters is Florent Lambert. He's on the inside of row 10, so effectively Chris Adams and Florent Lambert starting this one together. They're the guys battling out for the maximum points in the Masters category. Marcel Skirmer completes the top 20. He's on row 10 alongside Florent Lambert. We heard from Lucas Orrock moments ago. He feels that there's some good drivers out of position down there, and that includes him. Well, we'll sign up to that, Lucas. You're alongside Paddy Pearce on row 11. Just behind you, the Flying Scotsman, which is Sean Slavin. He's on row 12 with the German Pascal Marshall. Row 13, Julien Renaudin, the Frenchman, and Maxi Fleischmann of Germany. Row 14, Gilles Bronder of Holland and Mario Wendler of Estonia, a former world number 2. Harold Skokaklis and Nicholas Olsen are row 15. Don't be put off by a row 15 start. Harold Skokaklis is a potential top 10 finisher. Jano Toysing and Alexander Zenkin, row 16. And the grid completed by Alex Beggy and Alexis Corso. The DD2 final will be run over a race distance of 16 laps, scheduled away at 13:30. They're just about to go on their warm-up lap, and calling the race for you will be my colleague Chris Hartley.
How are the nerves, Ken? My heart's fluttering. I'm not even out there. We're just watching this. The tension mounting now. It's been a huge build-up to this over the winter. And all week long, drivers have been testing and practicing. We've had the Winter Cup a few weeks ago in Campillos in Spain, building up to this. And we, of course, had the qualifying heats yesterday and then the pre-finals earlier on today. And it's all now about this one race, the opening round of the championship, a 4-round championship. So it is crucial to get off to a good start in the season. At the end of the year, drivers are able to drop a couple of scores. They can drop their worst score from a pre-final and their worst score from a final. But still, you don't want to have too many bad races, and it's always good to get off to a really quantitative start in terms of banging in the points at the start of the season. So there'll be two formation laps. You can see the kart says Mika Laiho on the pole position, the green and white Tony Kart race suit, the orange helmet, the Finnish driver, who, it's worth making the point again, won this race last year. He also got on the podium at Salbris toward the end of the season in France and was a consistent point scorer. Drives for MPT Racing. And then behind him, we heard from Zender Ruva on RGM MCTV as he spoke to Tiff Chittenden. He is going to be in kart 603, starting this from the front row of the grid as well. And actually in between them at the moment is Sandro Lukovic on this formation lap, this first warm-up lap. Sandro, you'll spot with the orange-red race suit and the orangey-yellow helmet there. He's actually shown as second through the screen there, but he'll start this race from third position. And Sean Babington is in the blue race suit with the yellow, white and orange colours on his helmet, the British driver. So on the front row, we've got a Finn and a Belgian. On the second row, we've got an Austrian and a British driver. And in the row 3, French Kanshar, who's been on very good form this weekend in kart 629. And the Hungarian sharing that third row of the grid with the reigning champion, Matthias Detij. Matthias, who had to have a great comeback drive in the pre-final, having got caught up in an incident mid-race. He was down in something like 18th position at one point, but he fought back, finished 8th, and then got promoted to 7th when Ben Cooper was given that 3 seconds penalty. Ben on the row behind him now, 4th row of the grid. The one to watch in many ways because he's the reigning world champion, Ben Cooper. British, but races in Canada, has a Canadian race licence now. Chris Sturken with him as well.
Can I just mention from Canada, good luck to Ben Cooper from Don, Dorothy, Bryce and Blake Choker in Vancouver, BC. Don and Dorothy particularly, I promised that I'd give you a shout. You're sending the message to Ben Cooper. He's going to go well in this one, I feel sure. Chris Hartley.
Yeah, thanks, Ken. Good to hear more worldwide viewers to RGM MCTV. We had messages from Malaysia, from Australia yesterday, and now from over in Canada and the UK and Holland. It's been great to hear from you all. Right, hope you enjoy the race. We're almost there at the start there. You can see on screen the carts just coming up towards the final turn, being bunched up now by the front 2 row men. Hopefully for a first time start. It's a 16-lap race, this. It's less than a minute a lap, well less than a minute a lap. So around about 15 minutes this race should be taking place for. The first of 3 finals that we have here in the round 1 of the championship at Genk. The engine notes will begin to build fairly soon. The red lights are on, the eyes fixed on the gantries. Who's going to get off to the best start here? Red lights go. No, they don't go out. It's going to be a full start. A full start, so they're not bunched up enough, and they'll be sent round again. Woo, we're just about ready to go then, and now we're going to have to bring it all back down. So another lap for these drivers to go around, and most of them no doubt on fresh slick tyres for this final, having tried to save a set of the Mojo tyres, the slick tyres, for brand new rubber in this final. So Zenderuva confident in his interview with Tiff ahead of the race, confident that he had a bit more in the bag. Could have won the pre-final, he said, but just wanted to get through. 34 points to the winner of the pre-final, Mika Leho, there at the front of the picture. So he, initially the championship leader, coming into this on the first round.
And Chris, I'm being told that my first take on that was that it wasn't very level at the start, but it was the formation in the middle of the grid that was unsatisfactory, that resulted in that start being aborted. It didn't look a very level break, but that was not the reason for the false start or the aborted start. It was the problem in the middle order of the formation.
Yeah, I'd go along with that, Ken. The front few rows actually looked to have done quite a good job, didn't they? They're all experienced up there. So it was more to do with the middle of the pack. So it'll be sent round the rest of this lap. That's the view that you see coming in towards the end of the lap. We've seen some good overtakes into that corner. It's a right then left flick through the S's, through turns 9 and 10. And then you'll see them on the next camera shot coming into the final turn, a right-hander, where overtaking is possible, but tight. Here we go. This is the view into the final turn, which leads onto the long start-finish straight then. This right-hander. A little bit spread out the pack coming into this final turn, but I don't think it's any fault really of the front row drivers, because they're keeping a constant pace here. So the inside line for the pole position driver, Mika Leho. Zenderuva alongside Sandro Lukovic, Sean Babington on row 2, French Canchar and Matthias Tatij from the 3rd row. This time it is a start. The race gets underway, and way clear is Mika Leho going into the first turn. Sandro Lukovic is going to tuck in behind him, but Zenderuva's trying to fight back around the outside. He's down to 3rd place at the moment. Babington on the outside. French Canchar's in the inside. Mika Leho leads. Zenderuva does get back up to 2nd, and all but for that good start, Sandro Lukovic has dropped now down to 5th place. He gets run out wide, so French Canchar's gone through. I think it was a good start for Ben Cooper as well, who looks like he's gained a couple of places, and I think he's 4th at the moment. So the top 3 run down the back straight for the first time, with Mika Leho leading Zenderuva here at the start of this race. The one that Sean Babington didn't make a particularly good start either. He's dropped down the order a place or 2 as well, as they come now out of the left-hand hairpin at turn number 8 and back down towards us in this first of 16 laps of the race. We'll keep an eye on the progress of those coming back as well through the field. There are some quick drivers at the back of the field, and it's Ben Cooper going from 4th to 3rd as Ken spots there coming into turn 10. So Ben Cooper, great start for him from the 4th row of the grid. He's up to 3rd place, but Frank Canchar now is coming back at him. He's right on his rear bumper as they come towards turn 1, but he can't find a way through. So at the end of lap number 1, we've got Mika Leho under all sorts of pressure here from Zenderuva. Ben Cooper with a fab start up to 3rd place. French Canchar is 4th, and then Sandro Lukovic is in 5th, Ken.
Very hard to understand Zenderuva's starting, you know, not for the first time. We've seen this talented driver slow at the start. It often results in himself not being in too much difficulty, but balking the people behind him, of which Sean Babington, which you called in commentary, definitely a non-beneficiary, and Matthias Tatij as well. However, Zenderuva quickly tucking behind Mika Leho. This is a 16-lap final, but Mika Leho on the opening lap was looking over his shoulder at Zenderuva, indeed as he might. And there is the first move by Zenderuva for the lead, and he takes it. Well, Chris Hartley said moments ago that it's tight to overtake on the final turn. Yes, it's tight, but Zenderuva executed, but Mika Leho has repaid the compliment. And Ben Cooper's sitting there thinking, I see, that's what you're going to do, is it, guys? Well, I'm the world number one. You'll have me to contend with shortly. Senderuva back in front, and this time Ben Cooper goes with him. Down the freeway straight for the third time in this DD2 final. Senderuva from nearby Antwerpen, although he's in the south of Spain at Ronda at university at the moment. Ben Cooper, well, was from the London area, but now lives in Quebec. And I have to say, Ben Cooper's transition to a Canadian hasn't taken any of his talent away. Heading towards the end of the third lap, Ben Cooper coming under pressure from Mikalayo. And Mikalayo goes back into second place. That was one I didn't see coming. And Senderuva increases his lead to 0.4 of a second.
Florent Lambert's made a great start in the Masters category. He's just outside the top 10. He's in 13th place, so he's leading that one very nicely indeed. Antti Ramo, the Estonian, pulls into the pits. He's had a moment on the previous lap, so Antti, I'm afraid, he's out of the race. Down into turn 5 into the right-hand hairpin. There are the lead pack with Deruva leading the way. Second is Laiho. Third now is Ben Cooper, and Ferenc Kanchar is in 4th place. Yellow flags at the end of that back straight, so no overtaking allowed there. Then in 5th place, we've got the Austrian, Sandro Lukovic. Then it's Sean Babington running in 6th place now. And then we've got De Tige up to 8th position. So Matthias De Tige in kart 601, just away from the top 6 now. The reigning champion hasn't had a particularly good first couple of laps, but he's not too far away. Right behind him, Barry Pullinger, who did make a good start to the race, and Kevin Ludi rounding out the top 10 positions as it stands now. 3rd and 4th are going to go nose to tail over the start-finish line down towards turn 1. Ben Cooper, though, has come under all sorts of pressure from French Kanchar into that first corner on the last 2 or 3 laps, and he's been able to hold station. He's been able to keep him at bay, and there's a good battle brewing now for 5th place, because Sandro Lukovic and Sean Babington are pushing each other hard as they go down towards the right-hand hairpin at turn 5. But I think they're trying to work together now to close this gap back up to the top 4. The race leader is Senderuva. He's 0.3 of a second clear.
Well, I'm not sure whether Flo Lambar said he was going to annihilate or humiliate Chris Adams. Whichever it was, he's going the right way about it. Florent Lambert in kart 719 is running 13th. Chris Adams is out of the top 20 in kart 700. So in Masters, as Chris told you previously, Florent Lambert certainly got the upper hand over the former world champion Chris Adams. This is the start of lap 6 of a 16-lap DD2 final, and Ferenc Kanchar continuing to put pressure on Ben Cooper. Ben slightly detached behind Mikalayo. Mikalayo will not want Senderuva to get too much further ahead. But again, as Chris was calling in commentary, the Sando Lukovic, Sean Babington battle is a good one, and Babington goes from 6th to 5th as we speak, and Alexandra Finkelstein looking to pile on the misery on Sandro Lukovic. I don't think Alex Finkelstein got through, but certainly the move by Sean Babington was a sweet one. That halfway round the 6th lap, so Sean Babington up to 5th place, Ferenc Kanchar 4th, Ben Cooper 3rd, Mikalayo 2nd, and Chris, Mikalayo getting a little bit closer to Senderuva.
Yeah, possibly. Proper ding-dong going on further back as well. Trying to get in the mix with Sturken, and Sturken's picked up a place, then gone back a place. Into the pits has come 6-2-7. Sean Slavin, I'm afraid, with a problem and a change of lead coming out of turn 1. Mikalayo ahead of Senderuva. Back into the lead of the race he goes. Cooper right there with him. Kanchar's just dropped back a kart length or 2. And you see him on screen here coming into turn 5 through the right-hander. These 4 have just broken slightly clear now of Babington, but Babington is pulling away from Sandro Lukovic. He's left him for dead now. So Babington might put a couple of quick clear laps in here without any dramas. He might be able to catch that group. Finkelstein doing very well indeed. He is running just outside the top 6 in 7th place. Matthias De Tige struggling for pace a little bit for whatever reason at the start of this race, and the reigning champion has fallen back now to 12th place. He's in that second group of karts, so the Belgian reigning champion having a very disappointing run here in the final, but there's plenty of time for him to come back. We're about to complete lap 7 of 16, and the top 3 then go charging down into the first corner with Mikalayo, Senderuva, the Finn ahead of the Belgian, then the Anglo-Canadian in 3rd place there, Ben Cooper, and then the Latvian Ferenc Kanchar running in 4th place. What about Sean Babington in 5th place? His lap time of 54.1. He's on the same lap time as the race leaders, but he's not catching them as yet.
And Chris, as you turned away, Ben Cooper getting on the inside of Zenderuva, maybe even coming level with him, but Zenderuva on the outer of that hairpin onto the freeway straight, carried the speed through and maintained second position. However, the message is Ben Cooper says, I'm coming through, and he does. On screen, you got the perfect view of that pass, and Ben Cooper, the world number one, and makes a little gesture. I think it was probably, hi Zen, how are we going? Happy Easter. But just in front of Ben Cooper, Mikolaiho has got 0.33 of a second. Zenderuva fighting back strongly. And while that pass happened, Ferenc Kankshaw reattaches himself to the top four. And Sean Babington not a million miles away.
Surprisingly, not that much progress from the back of the field for, say, Patrick Pearce. He's only in 20th place. Lucas Orrick a bit further ahead, but only up to 18th position now. Harold Sgar-Kaklis hasn't made great progress either. He's still down in 23rd position. Up at the sharp end of the field, though, that's the karts, the leaders running out now up towards turn 8. Out of turn 7, into turn 8. Mikolaiho leads the way. Ben Cooper is there. Ferenc Kankshaw is there now into second place. Third, now we have got Zenderuva, and down to fourth place has gone Ben Cooper. Sean Babington is reeling them in now, I reckon, in fifth place. And then a couple of kart lengths back, you've got Lukovic and Finkelstein working hard to catch the leaders. Are we going to see a change of lead here on the way into turn 1? Not quite, but having to brake very, very late there was Mikolaiho to keep Ferenc Kankshaw behind him. Ferenc, he's very much in the mix here, Ken.
Yeah, Ferenc Kankshaw, looking the man most likely, isn't he? And about 3 laps ago, he looked as if he might be detaching. Oh, that's a lovely drive by Mikolaiho to close the door on Ferenc Kankshaw, and he takes all 3/4 of a kart length away. And also Zenderuva in third place, able to close up on the Hungarian, the tall Hungarian Ferenc Kankshaw. Just the tiniest little, well, there was a tiny gap between Ferenc Kankshaw, Zenderuva, and then Ben Cooper, but I think Ben has closed that gap. Sean Babington just a little bit further behind, but getting a little closer. This is the end of lap 10. We are deep into the DD2 final. 10 laps gone of a 16-lap race, and Ferenc Kankshaw has another quick peep, but Chris is saving that passing move until you're on the mic.
Plus, he's going to have to defend and attack at the same time. If he goes for a move, he's going to have to go for it and be committed to it, because if he dithers, Zenderuva's right behind him. He's not dithering anymore. Throwing it down the inside there and getting the lead, but he runs wide onto the back straight now. Mikolaiho's got the inside line. Zenderuva going to try and tuck in behind him. Clever driving from Deruva. Laiho goes through, Deruva goes through, and Ben Cooper goes through as well. Clever stuff that from Zenderuva. He watched what was going on ahead. He realised that the new race leader was holding himself up, and then just glued himself onto the tail of Mikolaiho, and they're both repassed Ferenc Kankshaw and demoted him back down, and so did Ben Cooper as well. So from first place, 2 corners later, he finds himself down in 4th position now. So the leader's coming out now to complete the next lap. There'll be 5 laps to go now, and it is Mikolaiho that leads. Zenderuva coming towards you there is second. You can see the top 5 on your pictures online, glued together still. Cooper third, Ferenc Kankshaw 4th, Babington almost with them now in the back of that group in 5th place, and then around about 2 seconds behind them, we've got 2 karts on a similar pace actually, trying to catch up.
Ben Cooper second.
Yeah, down the inside, Ben Cooper gets ahead of Zenderuva this time, but Zen's good on the brakes, going down the back straight, but not quite close enough to get the place back. So Cooper, as you say, Ken, up to second now.
Well, Ben Cooper having an interesting race. There was a theory that if he could just work his way to the front, he would pull away from here. Not so. Mikolaiho has shown us that he has a massive armoury of, shall we say, experience to bring to this. Maybe a little bit more, probably not more than Ben Cooper, but more than Zenderuva, probably more than Sean Babington and Ferenc Kankshaw, and that's serving him well at the moment. He led by 0.154 of a second. It's now 0.426 of a second, albeit behind him there was that passing move. This is lap 13 of a 16-lap DD2 final.
Florent Lambert 15th, continues to be well clear of Christoph Adams though in terms of the Masters category. Out onto the back straight. Mikolaiho has got himself a tiny bit of breathing space for the first time in this race. Ben Cooper is second, Zenderuva is third, but having to keep one eye on the 4th place car of Ferenc Kankshaw, who was all over the back of him at the end of the back straight. He has now got Sean Babington on the back of this group. So last year's senior champion into DD2 this time for the 2013 season. Sean Babington is on the back of this queue now. And it looks like a 5-horse race for the last few laps on. Then we've got this, well, they're not really battling yet. We've got Lukovic and Finkelstein 6th and 7th. They, I think, on this lap have caught up a little bit, that lead group. We'll just keep an eye on it. They're still a fair way back. But we'll look at the times as they go over the line in a second, because there might be a change for third here. Now, French Canchar is quick going onto the back straight, but he's not quite close enough to launch an attack down the inside. And just quickly looking at the times for Lukovic and Finkelstein, 54 2s, 3s. They're on almost exactly the same time as that lead group. So if they start fighting, they might catch them up. But otherwise, they're struggling to close the gap, I think.
2.5 laps to go. Mika Laiho has about 0.4 of a second over Ben Cooper, the world #1. Zenderuva, the Belgian, racing here in Belgium in 3rd place. Ferenc Kanchar, who has led the race, trying so hard to get back into the opening mix. Certainly would want to be on the podium, if not better. And Sean Babington, far, far from out of a podium place in this, in 5th place, very much knocking on the door. This is the end of lap 14 approaching, so 2 laps to go. And Mika Laiho glances over his right shoulder. Ben Cooper doesn't see him glancing because Ben does a really, really low tuck, and Zenderuva gets underneath and takes Ben and himself wide. Oh, Chris, that was a big error by the Belgian.
Yeah, well, he just lunged, didn't he? I mean, Zenderuva was under attack, really, and forced out wide, and it's dropped him back now. He's lost not only places, but quite a bit of time now. So he's way back to 5th. So he's suddenly now, it's become a 3-horse race here. Canchar with a very, very late move, diving through, and it worked for Ferenc because it did make it stick, and he has got through to 2nd place, and the one that benefited was Sean Babington, who picked up the piece. He snipped up the inside and went up to 3rd place. So Laiho leads, lap and a bit to go. Mika Laiho in the lead of the race. Through the shot they go up towards the final turn. Couple of cart lengths back now. You've got Ferenc Canchar, who instigated all of that with a last dash move on the brakes to get ahead of Zenderuva, and Zen won't be best pleased with that. Babington 3rd as they go on to the final lap of the race.
Driving standards flag goes there to Luca Kamali. I think that was a minor indiscretion in many ways. Sorry, Chris, carry on.
Look, Zenderuva horns are out here. He's super late on the brakes. He's not going to get on the podium, but he wants to salvage better than 6th place out of this, so he's trying to catch Sandro Lukovic now. They head down the back straight, and that looks like it might prove to be the decisive move of the race, because not only did it change 2nd and 3rd, but it also has just given this tiny bit of breathing space, Ken, to Mika Laiho with half a lap to go.
Well, Mika Laiho, I hesitate to say breathing space as Chris has done, because I would hate to put the commentator's curse on, but boy, would you not want to be Mika Laiho now. The checkered flag is being fingered in the bottom of your screen. You can see him go through. A very relaxed look over his left shoulder. Ferenc Kanchar knows he's going to be 2nd, but cannot win the race. Onto the home straight at the end of 16 laps. Mika Laiho of Finland wins it. Ferenc Kanchar of Hungary 2nd. Sean Babington of the United Kingdom 3rd. They're the podium guys. Ben Cooper, the world #1 from Canada, is 4th. Sandro Lukovic, the Austrian, completes the top 5. Zenderuva will not feel that 6th place on his home track here in Belgium was a fair reflection. Those guys we mentioned a lot in commentary. Behind them, a little bit of a gap behind them. Alex Finkelstein, the French champion, was 7th. Barry Pullinger, the Englishman, 8th. Kevin Ludi, the Swiss driver, 9th. And as Chris Hartley did say in commentary, Matthias Detti's the defending champion, struggling mid-race. He has to be satisfied with a top 10 finish, but only in 10th place. Florent Lambert, well, he hasn't humiliated Chris Adams, but he has beaten him comfortably in the Masters.
Well, Mika Laiho controlled that from the front, didn't he? He really did keep them just at arm's length and controlled. A very clever drive from Mika. He gets his 2nd win in 2 years now here at this circuit. But Fred Canchar there with a really determined move. I mean, he left it to the last possible inch, last possible centimetre before he decided to outbrake Zenderuva, and just took him by surprise. He bank raided him, and Zen, I feel that was quite aggressive, but Ferenc, to be fair to him, it was a great move. And he was happy with 2nd place as well. Punched his air, waved to the team as he went across the line. There are the results. Mika Laiho winning by 0.4 of a second. Ferenc Canchar in 2nd place. Sean Babington was one who benefited towards the end and picked up a couple of places, but he worked hard to catch that lead group in the first place. Ben Cooper 4th in the end, which if you told him 4th place on Friday when he was right at the back with an engine that wasn't working, he'd have taken that, wouldn't he? He'd have snatched it out of your hands. But given he had such a good start to the race and was already up to second place, I'm sure will be, as a race winner, as a world champion, slightly disappointed with fourth. Sandro Lukovic in fifth place, and Zenderuva frustrated down in sixth position.
Can I just put us both on the spot momentarily, Chris? In commentary during that move, I did suggest it was a little bit of an error by Zenderuva, and I thought that he would see it that way. You've seen it more as a very positive late move by Ferenc Kankshar. Would you say that Zen was blameless for that, or might he have defended a little bit more effectively?
I think he'd got it. He thought he got it covered. I think he was almost into the corner. He was almost turning through the corner, and suddenly this red and white missile appeared next to him. And I think it's perhaps startled him a little. It jumped out the way to avoid any contacts, but. It was a Fernando Alonso style move that it was from nowhere. So he'll be disappointed because Zen, looked like he might be up for the win here today. Right, there are the championship points then at the end of round one with the pre-final and final points put together. And there you go. Mika Laiho is the championship leader after round one. 89 points, 7 points clear of Ferenc Kankshar. He'll be well pleased with his visit here, the Hungarian, today. And Sean Babington, third in the standings. That's not a bad start to his DD2 campaign. And he's only a point behind Kankshar as well. Those two have been inseparable this weekend because they matched each other in qualifying as well. Sandro Lukovic, the Austrian, very strong drive all weekend long for him. And he's fourth in the championship on 80 points with Zenderuva. Ben Cooper, sixth in the championship. Don't forget he lost quite a few points in the pre-final as well with that 3-second penalty, which bumped him from third to eighth. So had he had another 5 points, he would have been joint second in the championship. But it's all ifs and buts, isn't it? Matthias de Tige is going to be the front runner and the most disappointed, I think, this weekend. That seventh in the championship. He's not where he wanted to be.
What a shame to see Chris Rijmakers of Belgium coming back on the debris wagon. He was in the final here in Belgium. He didn't make the opening lap. Chris Rijmakers, one of the misfortunes, but Mika Laiho endorse absolutely what Chris Hartley has said.